into Long Mile off Tarawera, so improving the road safety at that point, and also into Forest Hub 2. Now that $500,000 is the cost if we do not receive any support through NZTA. So whilst I've signalled in the report that we would be saving $500,000 based on the fact that it's a $7 million match to 7, at this stage I would like us just to be clear that the $500,000 may be required for those entranceway funding, and any reductions would be based on an NZTA subsidy, so that's the basis there. The other key points in the way the support has been split by government for the forest project is that $5.5 million comes through as a grant and 1.5 comes through as a loan to be repaid over 10 years. So the basis there is that the $1.5 million loan is interest-free for 5 years, and then after that it's I think the government's borrowing plus a margin. So it comes in pretty close to our interest rate for the remaining 5 years. Now the view of government there was that even though we're investing in the private infrastructure, the underlying land ownership in the forest is iwi, and so there is private commercial gains to be received through this public investment as a leverage for private investment. So hence the condition around a loan, but also detailed, and I'd prefer to talk about it in more detail in the confidential section, is a windfall clause, which is to say if the revenues for the forest exceed a significant uplift, they would also like to share in the gains for that, so would like an additional return of funding of $1 million of the grant as well. So that puts a little more complexity into the discussions we've had around that Provincial Growth Fund contract, and also more significantly involved our partners in okaying that. So that's the sort of the process we're involved in that space. So as I say, the report also details the history of where these projects originated from, and probably the most significant, of course, is the lakefront, which commenced right back in 2008. And what I've done at that point is just to provide some history there too of what the original Rate and Associates plans were, their estimates back in 2008, and I think they identified the costs at approximately $28,000, but there was a significant number of exclusions that came through there, which actually would have put the project closer to $35 to $50 million at the time. And then due to a not complete partner agreements into the subsequent long-term plan, only $10 million was included within that next LTP, which was intended to only pay for what was a significant jetty redevelopment in that process. So, and the LTP following that, it was removed, and so really this project started again as a result of the 2016 Vision 2030 refresh. So happy to answer any general questions, but just concerned that anything particularly detailed needs to go into the confidential section.
Are there any questions? Councillor Donaldson.
It's not a question, Your Worship, but through you, JP, and I know the answer to this, but just to confirm that in respect of the treatments on Tarawera Road that are not funded through the PGF or not subsidised through the PGF, that both these projects are in the Regional Transport Plan, and it's on the radar of NZTA. They'll be coming to them for funding assistance rate.
Absolutely.
Yes, Your Worship, but one of the things that have been put in place around the Provincial Growth Fund is a large number of departments now have oversight into the implications of these projects, and for us to, through that the Regional Land Transport Plan, these projects had to be accepted and recognised, so absolutely correct.
Any other questions? Councillor Stewart?
Thank you for the report, JP. It is quite wide-ranging, and I think the two headings on page 132 and 133 regarding lakefront development and the Whakarerewerua forest development give us the sequence of events that went on in terms of signalling this project to the community, putting the application into the PGF coming back and saying, providing you put in this amount, as signalled in your LTP, we will come to the party, and that's been approved by central government. On page 135, it does mention a petition that was received at the last council meeting, of which it states that 1,482 of a growing population of 74,500 people, which is less than 2% of our population, have signed that petition. But I see further on in the agenda, and I don't want to reveal anything, Madam Chair, I'm absolutely cognizant of the confidentiality matters, but later in the confidentiality section we are asked to approve contracts for the Forest Hub and Long Mile development, which are, without revealing them, going to two companies, one of which is locally owned and the other one who is locally based. They employ a significant number of our local people, and I think to stop midstream would be a travesty in terms of that. And if we do stop, I don't know where we're going to get the $811,000 to repay the initial contract spent on providing the business case, because we haven't budgeted to repay that. So I signal the fact that I'm happy to move to, and that we get going, and we'll talk about that in confidential as well. I'm happy to move, Madam Chair.
You second. You moved. Yes. 1 and 2. Thank you. Councillor Kent.
Thank you, Your Worship. Whilst I'm right behind the lakefront development, and I say that quite openly, I still have some major reservations in mind as to where this figure of 40 million has actually come from. Is this a figure actually plucked out of the blue? Because we've only got a concept at this stage. Now, are we signing, yes, we're going to spend 40 million no matter what it ends up at, or are we approving on the basis of, well, if it only costs us 30 million, we're only going to fork out 15? So could you clarify that, please?
Your Worship, the concerns raised by the councillors are absolutely correct. At this stage, we do our best with moving from a concept to a more preliminary design. So we've moved from the high level concept to preliminary worked design. And one of the things that was part of the output of our current 811,000 was to go right through to detailed design for tendering, certainly of the lakefront zone between the current operators and just past the Scout Den site. So we've started to get right down into that detail, but again, you often don't know how much things will cost, even though we've done QS at each of these stages, and we've had to identify who our QS company will be, and they are cited within the contracts, because that's important that we have the kind of quality QS supporting the information we've got. The structure of the contracts talks about the deliverables in each of those areas. So at any point that we receive, and it's eating the elephant piece by piece, we've got to value engineer, review, and make sure each part of the project is delivered to a level that supports the outcomes we're trying to achieve with government. If that creates savings through each of the stages, then you're correct, we will not spend 40 million. The intention is also that 40 million is the limit, and so if any particular stage we accept a higher cost because either the tendering or the design requirements require it, we've got to then look at the value engineering through the subsequent stages, because we're working towards a maximum budget of 40. But if by good management, good understanding of the costs, or good tenders, we come in under, we will not spend the full amount.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm more than happy to be supporting this petition, this petition. this recommendation from the beginning, but I do want to ask a question rather than getting into some of the things I support in that in here. The question I have is, we had the long-term LTP consultation and feedback and support strongly for the project. Question I have is, why are we even considering this petition? Well, no, the report says we had to.
We're not. That's, Do you want to answer that, Chief?
Councillors, I think what you have before you today is actually fundamentally a sign-off on the agreement with the Ministry. That's primarily what this paper is actually asking you to review and to approve. The reason that the petition has actually also been included, or information on the petition, is that it is actually directly a matter that's directly related in which you've received information. So staff are merely including the nature of, or the summary of some aspects of the petition in this report for your consideration as you make the decision to proceed or not.
But that's due process on receipt of a petition. Councillor Rotorua.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the report. And obviously these two projects, as has been detailed here, unlock the potential for Rotorua, so that's good news. Yeah. But I have to say that under 5 there, the lakefront, Rotorua lakefront development, the most significant point for me is bullet point 2, improved iwi land development and value. Over all the years, the lack of opportunity for iwi to develop their land, be it because it was some of it was taken under the Public Works Act, some of it was given as reserves, springs, the water was used, and all of those sort of things. And for various reasons, the opportunity has never been there significantly to develop their lands. And I just think that is just so significant. It sends a clear signal that the development, and of course, as we know, iwi development is for the benefit of everyone in Rotorua, has always been. But this does say something. It says it's a clear signal to the community that iwi land is valued in terms of its contribution to the whole economic growth of our city and the people who live and reside here. So that to me is, I mean, all of those bullet points are really significant, but the one for me that stands out, so long overdue, is that bullet point 2. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, Your Worship, I'm just wondering, are you taking comments on the recommendation at this stage, or just only questions? I do have a comment when you're ready.
Chair, 2.2 states contracts with an S. Does that mean we've got 2 separate contracts or one contract covering both? 131, on page 131, 2.2, there's contracts with an S listed in 2.2. Does that mean there's, sorry? Can 2.2 then be voted on separately, one for the lakefront and one for the Waka?
You're going into the confidential section. I think if you look at the resolution, we're approving this and then we go into the detail.
Of order, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Councillor Gould is actually quite correct, because the way point 2 is stated at the moment, you're giving support to both projects. Some councillors may not wish to support both.
Didn't signal that. Yeah. We've got a motion on the table. You've got a motion. Yeah.
Just raise a point of order. The 2 contracts that are detailed at the back of the page in the confidential, one is for Long Mile Road and the other is for the Forest Hub 2 development. It has nothing to do with the lakefront. So if we split those up, that means a double negative against what we've already approved at LTP level.
Yeah, that's right. Right. The next, I don't think there were any more questions.
I think Dave had
Dave.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to make a couple of comments, but firstly I'll comment on the issue that's just been raised about splitting. There's another vote that happens in confidential, and so that can be addressed there. And so councillors can choose to support both or not support both. As Councillor Sturt said, they were supported at LTP. I'd just like to add that both of these projects were endorsed by the Bay of Connections as part of the Regional Visitor Economy Strategy for the Bay of Plenty and for the Sub-Regional Visitor Economy Strategy for Rotorua. The Economic Development Portfolio Group met last week and absolutely endorsed proceeding with the projects. They're fully in support. Just in terms of, I'll save my other comments, I think, when we come to the confidential section around the MB contracts, Your Worship, but I do want to just touch on the petition. So I note the petition. I note the numbers in the petition, and a significant number of those who signed are not local people, not even New Zealanders. And I do also have had a significant number of people approach me about what was put to them when they were asked to sign that petition. And there were issues such as there's going to be no playground left on the lakefront, or do the museum first, which, you know, we're working on anyway, and other things like that. So I fully support the recommendation that's in front of us here.
And as the mover of the motion, you have right. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, Peter. I haven't forgotten you. Sorry, I'm reminded. Try to be
Thank
very
you,
fair.
Madam.
Councillor Bentley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got a couple of questions with regard to the petition. And the first one is, why were the reasons why the people signed the petition not discussed, and questions by the councillors not permitted?
Because he ran out of time, wasn't it?
It was purely on basis. It's a standing order, Councillor Bentley, and we were very particular to keep to the standing order. The submitter of the petition was advised you have 5 minutes. He went to the time, and then offence was taken, and under standing orders that ruled out any right for questions. That's standing orders, and we had to be very careful. That's why, Councillor Bentley, when you first tried to submit the petition, we asked for it to come back at a later date so that we were very clear to stick with standing orders. Right, Councillor Sturt.
I also wanted to highlight to members that if they'd had taken time out to come to the Chamber of Commerce business after 5, there was a total, emphatic, enthusiastic support of these major moves, including the lakefront and the Whakarewarewa forest, by the Chamber President in his speech, and also talking with all the members. And in fact, one gentleman who owns a motel came up to me after the chairman's speech and said he signed the petition under the wrong pretences. I've had 2 other ladies who believed that the language used and the hysteria used that we were going ahead with the lakefront at Whakarewarewa at the cost of the museum and the Sir Howard Morrison Performing Arts Centre was also false. And she wanted me...
Councillor Kumar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know why we're wasting our time on discussing when there's no one over here to actually argue against whether that is the truth or not, because the people that did the petition are not over here to justify the cause of what they're being accused about, and it could be all just hearsay. So I don't really think that's fair.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just want to say that I'm reporting back what I have heard. It may be hearsay, but it isn't, because we had the facts given to us at the Chamber meeting. I rest my case. It's going to go through anyway. Let's move on.
Right, and Councillor Maxwell, as the mover of the motion, do you wish to say any more?
Some of the things regarding the petition, because you know, it's quite alarming that we should have international visitors signing it, and 71 people from other parts in New Zealand, I thought that would have been ruled out straight away. But I want to highlight, just touch on, and Councillor Sturt did touch on the our BA5 last week, which I thought was well received here, the final Chamber of Commerce presentation. But the one that also stood out was in September, who were really, some were sort of waiting to hear what was going to be presented, and talking to them later, they were really, really pleased about the way we were moving forward with the projects. So, yeah, I'll leave the other one for when we go into confidential, but more than happy to move the motion. Thank you.
That's the end of the process. I put the motion now. We've had the questions and the mover has had his right of reply. So all those in favour that item 2, that council support advancement of Rotorua lakefront development and Whakariwiriwa forest projects by way of signalling intent to approve the contracts with the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment.
Order, Madam Chair, just before you call a vote on that, something has just occurred to me. The way that's worded at the moment, you're signalling a future decision?
The intent.
To make a future decision, which isn't quite right. You can signal that we're going to discuss it and decide, but you cannot signal that we're going to approve it.
To further
because we don't know till we get there.
So you're moving an amendment to remove signalling intent to approve, but we are signalling advancement. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank you for that. Right, we'll move the motion. All those in favour as amended, please say aye. Aye. Contrary? Okay. No. Division called for? You want your names? Show of hands, please. All those in favour, please say aye. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? And you wish your names recorded against? Okay. Okay. Councillor Gould and Councillor Bentley. Thank you. Move that you go into confidential, and we'll have a 5-minute break.
No, I've still got my thing to do.
Oh, stop! We're not going into confidential just yet. Sorry, it's on the order paper. So, very sorry. Una is just presenting to us at the year end, connecting our vision to action, and then we go into confidential. Una. Thank you, JP.
I think we're going to have a break after this, so this will only take probably maybe 5 to 10 minutes tops.
Carry on.
So, members, you'll remember a couple of months ago now, I showed a very simple PowerPoint presentation which reflected on the things that had been achieved in the past financial year. Since that time, and with the help of the comms team, we've taken that concept and developed it much further. And that presentation was presented at the Business After 5 on Tuesday, the 4th of December. That clip and presentation extends that reflection of what we've achieved in 1 year to actually look at the progress and achievements starting back in 2013 through till now. So we thought we'd like to take the opportunity for those that weren't able to attend the Business After 5 just to reflect upon that clip. So I'm just going to ask Carol to bring that wee video up. The video, please, Carol. Yes, it's also on YouTube, and you can view it through our council website as well. We have also acted upon and heard from yourselves and from many members in the community that our current website is difficult to navigate and it's hard to find information about our current projects listed in our LTP. So we've developed in-house a location where we can bring together all of those projects and people can go straight to the site and be able to find out information around our projects. So landing on Council's web page, there are two ways that you can get to this page that we've just landed on here. There's the key projects bar right at the very top of the website. You can click into that, or on the actual website page itself there is a spotlight around this vision to action. What further work is still to happen on this page here. We have under development at the moment an introductory video that is going to link the vision with projects, and we hope to have that up here on the site by the end of the year as well. But this is an area where if you click on the project timeline, members of the community will be able to go into a calendar and you'll be able to see events based around some of those major projects and when milestones and events are proposed to happen. If you want to find out more information on those projects, I'll just pause, I think I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Carol, if you'd like to click on December, and you would scroll through here and people would be able to, at a very high level, get a glimpse of what's proposed to happen in those areas. No, we'll just, yeah. So you can go into, yeah. And Carol, if you go back to, just take us straight back to the projects. Our projects, and if you want more information on the detail of the projects, you can click on any one of those tiles and it will give you information on the background, the timeline, where the funding from those projects is coming from, and some frequently asked questions. So we thought it might be a good opportunity to maybe click into the museum project and just give you an idea of what's covered off in there. And this is all part of our ongoing ways of looking at how we can engage and how we can tell those stories on connecting the vision with progress and with action. Going forward from here, I guess the key is to ensuring that this information is kept up to date and is relevant. And the comms team, and along with project managers, will be ensuring that this information, as new events and new updates happen, new announcements are made, that information will flow through and will be up on these project areas as well. Going forward into the new year, we're also looking at developing some more graphic sort of flyovers, 3D models of each of the projects, so that touching people's hearts and minds, they can actually be able to get a better understanding and appreciation of what we might see when the projects are completed. So what's the lakefront going to look like when it's completed? What's the forest improvements going to look like? And people will be able to, by way of almost virtual tours, be able to walk through those projects. So that was just a little bit of an update, really, just to show you how we are looking at one area in particular around our website area at the moment, of how we're trying to work on new ways of showing that connection of vision to action. Thank you.
Thank you, Una, and I think it's quite remarkable when you watch that flyover, really. You're all to be congratulated. What an incredible amount of work has gone on, and Jeff, the team too. It's a great way to end the year, really, publicly, to see the level of activity that you've all been part of. So thank you for that. Councillor Maxwell?
Una, wonderful. Can I ask, remember that during the year, one of our committee meetings, either Pickers or Charles, we had a presentation from the group who was working on that beautiful filtering thing that was going to happen from the forestry down to the lake, whether that video's on here.
I'm not 100% sure whether it is, but I'll make sure because it should be. Thank you. Yep.
Are there any other questions? No, well, thank you. There's no decision to be made, but I'm pleased you brought it here because many of you haven't seen it and it shows the level of activity. Actually, if you walk through the centre that I do every night before I go home, there's whiteboards with every one of these projects and just huge detail and timelines and where the project's going. So for our public and for those of you watching to be able to see this online, I think that's going to help tell our story about how the vision is unfolding. So on that note, we've had a motion to go into confidential. We haven't. Thank you. Yeah, seconded Councillor Donaldson. All those in favour, please say aye. And I'll just point out that the items that we're discussing in confidential: adoption of the minutes, the museum update presentation, and the Rotorua Lakefront MB grant contract and the Whakariwariwa Forest grant in confidential. We've noted that. We bring them forward. Thank you. Thank you, and Merry Christmas to you all, the public. And I hope you have a nice time with friends or family.